Out of the 29-year-old contractor who says he is the source of the leaks, Edward Snowden fleeing to Hong Kong. International criminal defense lawyer Douglas McNabb joins us. Nice to see you, sir.
Good evening.
All right, this man has now admitted to leaking, a violation of the law. He has fled to Hong Kong. If the United States wants to get him back from Hong Kong and prosecute him, what does the United States have to do?
Well, first of all, they've got to prosecute him. You've got to have an arrest warrant. So the U.S. government would seek an indictment from a federal grand jury. They would get an arrest warrant. I suspect they would ask the court to seal, that is, not make a matter of public record, the indictment and arrest warrant, because they wouldn't want him to know that they've indicted him. And then the U.S. government is going to do two things. Number one is that they would send over, either by diplomatic channels or law enforcement, a provisional arrest warrant, which is a temporary arrest warrant provided for in the extradition treaty between Hong Kong and the United States. And they would be seeking to have Mr. Snowden arrested and detained up to 60 days. That would give the U.S. government time to file a full-blown petition for extradition. Once he's in extradition proceedings, then he has two choices. He can either waive extradition and return to the U.S. and stand trial, or he can challenge, he can fight that extradition. So that's the first thing that the government could do. And the second thing is that the government could go to Interpol in D.C., request Interpol D.C. to request Interpol out of Lyon, France, to issue an international fugitive red notice. That red notice is sent to 190 countries.
And the minute he tries to check
putting
into
the 190 countries on.
And he'll get nabbed when he tries to check in this country. All right. Let me ask you, he has now, at least we've understood, is that he's left the hotel. At least that's what the reports are. Nobody knows where he is in Hong Kong, whether he's even left Hong Kong and headed for someplace else. Is there any way that that he can be detained at all in Hong Kong if he's still there, absent an indictment here in the United States?
Well, he could. What potentially could happen is that Hong Kong could revoke his visa. I suspect that he's there on a tourist or a business visa or something. They could revoke that visa, find that he's in the country illegally, and then deport him. Either formally deport him, or, as we've seen in some cases, they could informally deport him by taking him to the airport, and the U.S. Marshal Service is waiting to bring him back to the States if there's an indictment. But failing an indictment, they could just deport him after revoking his visa if they wanted to do that.
And I suspect that the countries are actually quite cooperative and have treaties between them. This extradition, if he flees to another country, one that we have an extradition treaty with, that would make it a little bit easier to bring him back if he goes to a country where we have a treaty.
Well, of course, we've got this treaty with, we don't have a treaty, extradition treaty with China. We do with Hong Kong. And there are provisions in that treaty that would provide for his return if the U.S. government is able to show that he probably committed the crime. And, of course, apparently he has admitted to committing the crime if, in fact, he has committed it. But there's also other requirements of dual criminality and other issues that the U.S. government would have to be able to establish in that extradition proceeding.
Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.